So hello and welcome to the Potted RV. My name is Constance. If you're new here and if you're returning, welcome back. So I tried to do this video yesterday and apparently my mic decided to die halfway through the video. And I have a pesty cat who is over here being pesty. Because, you know, that's what kitty cats do. I put it over there. It's over here. So, this video is going to be on seeding onions. A lot of people seed them right before spring, like usually inside for the first, I think it's 6 to 8 weeks before their last frost date. I tend to do mine towards fall. I prefer to do mine to where they overwinter. That's a preference that's coming from Arizona. That's coming, to be honest, from having grown in Arizona for 8 years. So we're going to find out together whether or not this is going to work for the area I'm in now. Now, I am in southwestern Oklahoma now, so Zone 7B8A. We're going to be doing, these are yellow sweet. Okay, so they're the yellow sweet Spanish Utahs. I knew they were yellow sweets, but I wasn't sure which one. This does say November. I don't usually do that. I usually go ahead and start them now so that they can go out mid part of October. Starting them in pot. Now, I usually do this in seed trays, but my seed trays are still in another state, and both my water things for that are in use right now because of having powdery mildew issues. Try not to have the water end up on another set of seeds that I'll be doing in, I think this video is probably going to go up Wednesday. I think that's how I'm going to end up doing it. The Monday's video, which you will see this one after that video, is on pest pressure. Because I have a very large problem with pest pressure right now. I'm doing this. This is not something you have to do. I have a lot of leaves that I ended up not getting into the house. So I'm just grinding them up with my hands to give them a soft, to give the seeds a soft spot to land, because I don't have any seed starting mix right now. I usually don't keep seed starting mix this time of year, but I do start a few things. So like I said, this I usually do in seed trays, but you don't have to. Onions are pretty hardy and they're pretty tolerant, so doing them in a basic pot works perfectly fine. You don't have to be too crazy with it. This is a 10 to 15 day germination. Onions are pretty simple. They really are. But they can be a bit of a pain. The seeds are actually decent size, so you can easily see them. Now, I will take the whole amount and just kind of, I'm going to bring it down so you can see what I'm doing. And I just kind of sprinkle them around. I am deliberately overseeding these, even though these are bulbing onions. It is intentional that I'm overseeding them. And then I'll just press them into the soil. Because once they come up, I can thin them out. And when I'm thinning them out, I can do what's called pricking out. So pricking out, I will basically take this whole jar, a whole pot, actually, it's not a jar, whole pot, and rotate it around, pull them up, and I will do a video on it. I've done a video on pricking out, but not from a jar like this. I'll do one on doing it from I keep calling this a jar, but it's not a jar, it's a pot. But I'll do one on it when these guys are ready. I'll do another video on it. You just rotate them out and then literally spread them out and pull them individually out and replant them. And that is what I will end up doing. I'll leave these guys typically in the window in the RV. I'm not going to leave them outside. They'll be in the window until they sprout. And once they've sprouted, I will move them outside on cooler days. These guys are not going to be too happy at above 100 degrees, although it's not supposed to get above 100 degrees until hopefully not, but it's not supposed to in the more near future, but it is supposed to get into the high 90s. So I'll still end up keeping these guys inside and basically keeping an eye on the temperatures. They still want it warm, but not stupid warm. And like I said, I will do another video on when these guys are ready to come out. This is going to be a pretty simple one, but that is basically it for planting onions from seeds. I don't typically use sets. A lot of people do, but I don't. Sets are they're usually planted in October the year before and sent up for people to replant them. So they're kind of tricked, and they can end up thinking they're in their second year and going to flower, and it's just too much of a headache for me. I don't typically do sets. I usually do them from seed, and this is the method I do, and I do it in the fall rather than the spring. I do that because in Arizona, spring is too soon. Now, that being said, if you're growing onions in the south, the southern part of the United States, in my area and south, you're going to want to stay with what are called short day onions. Gets kind of complicated, and I'm not sure if these are short day or long day. That was one of the things I was looking at on the back of this seed packet. It actually doesn't say whether it's a short day or a long day, which matters. It does. So we'll see how these go. Short day onions is what it needs to bulb. For a short day onion, I think it's 12 hours sunlight. Long day are what you need for up north. In Colorado, I think it's a long day that you need. And then you have the intermediates. Now, in Arizona, you can't touch an intermediate. Here, apparently, you can do an intermediate, but in Arizona, you're never going to get an intermediate to bulb. It has to be a short day. I'm hoping, because this doesn't say, and it was sold in this area, that it's short day. I'm hoping. We'll find out. I typically go with seed varieties that actually say. I never used Back to the Roots Seed Company, but that is who these are with. I think I bought these in Home Depot. I'm almost certain I did. I bought them a couple days ago. That's one thing that I'm really kind of picky about. I don't like the fact that this doesn't say. That is something that as a gardener you really do need to know. Just because it's sold in your area doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work. It should, but I've learned the hard way that not always. It rained last night, so I'm dealing with that too. Onions are actually pretty easy as long as you get the right variety for your area. You don't have to grow them in spring. You can overwinter them through, but you want to make sure you're starting them with enough time to give them time to overwinter. But it also depends on where you're from. I know, I think it's zone 6 and above. You want, well, 6 and below, depending on how you look at it. You want to grow them in spring. And I'm not sure on that one. I've never had to do that. I've always grown them in fall. Although, in fairness, this is one of those things that I had a lot of failure on when I was in Arizona. I kept getting long day onion varieties because that's what I was used to, having grown in Michigan and Colorado. So that was what I was accustomed to using, and I couldn't get them to bulb. I could get them to come up and they'd be fine, but Arizona doesn't have the right day length for them. So that really does matter, and it can make a person think that they just can't grow onions. I thought that way for quite a while. I was researching the crap out of onions to try to figure out why, and I had ended up, I don't think he has channel anymore. I don't remember his name either, but I tried finding him. It was the video, he's in Georgia, and it was a video I had come across of his that he was explaining, and I ended up having to go through some old biology books, which is so sad. Old botany books before I finally found the information on how onions produce, because they're still onions, but they're different varieties of them that are wild all across the world. There's a wild variety of them that grow in uh, this area, actually, all the way down into Texas. And I grew up with those. Um, I never grew onions in Texas because we have them growing wild. We had them growing wild in our yard. There was just no point, not in my view. So onions are something that I didn't start really growing much of until I was in my late 20s, and I've had a lot of problems with them. And one of the things that really does matter is what variety you have. Green onions are real simple. I don't think it really matters with green onions because they don't bulb, but you're bulbing onions. It matters the day length. This is going to be a very strange way of doing it. I'm probably going to have to adjust a few things back and forth in this video, just because I didn't want it to be as long as it's being, but I also wanted to make sure that I explained short day, long day, and intermediate, although I don't think I've made a lot of sense trying to explain it because it's complicated but needs to be an explanation, at least in my view. It's based on the time length that the onion needs to bulb. To be honest, all I usually do is remember that if I'm below the Mason-Dixon line, I need a short day length onions. And if I'm above the Mason-Dixon line, I need long day. If I'm pretty close to the Mason-Dixon line, I can do an intermediate. But whichever one I'm above or below, I have to go with the short or long day. And I can also do an intermediate. It's kind of how I work it. I hope this video made sense. To be honest, I'm not sure how much sense it's making because it's not making a lot of sense to me. But I will do another video on it when these guys start to sprout. 10 to 15 days. That's usually how long they'll take. When they start to sprout and we go to prick them out, I'll do a video on that. And then we'll see how they grow. It's kind of my little experimentation, I guess, because onions are one of those things that I didn't grow in this area as a kid. I grew up about 3 hours south of where I'm at now, so I didn't grow them. So this is learning lesson for me too, and I guess you can come along with me. Anyway, I hope you liked this video. I'm not sure how well it'll go, but if you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.